You can actually read the entire Bible in 30 days, but should you? So I recently did a Bible reading plan with one of my close friends, my fiance, and some of my family members, and it was a Bible shred. You read the entire Bible from start to finish in 30 days. This plan is a really interesting way to start your year because you are not making a resolution that you will go 365 days through the Bible or maybe half the Bible in a year. You are actually just committing to 1 month or 30 days of reading, taking the time to change things up and actually read the Bible more like you would read a novel and see all of the story arcs and see how it goes from start to end and see all the prophecy come true within a short period of time is really a special experience. This plan was developed by Nathan Finochio. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he calls it the 30-day Bible shred. And he says the reason for this Bible plan is to see the shape of the trees and not to look at the details of the leaves. And obviously, if that was the only way you ever read scripture, it would not be good. But setting aside some time to try something very different and to read this like a regular book and actually just see the whole picture. Positives. Well, number one positive is that I just read the Bible in about 30 days and I have all of this now going around in my head. And no, I don't remember every detail, but the amount I read in this last month compared to what I read on a normal daily basis of the scripture is very different. I have a lot more to think about. Holy things are on my mind instead of mundane, normal things. And what I notice when I'm doing this with a group of people is our conversation often goes more to the scriptures and more to Bible stories than it does when we're not doing this. I did not create this plan. It is just going through the entire Bible in 30 days, chapter by chapter. I listened through most of it. I did try to read along and listen at the same time sometimes, but a lot of it was through audio while working out or while getting ready for the day while driving. This plan is not for everyone. Some people will be too distracted by the idea that they are not soaking up every single detail, but it is beneficial if you can understand the Bible in a broader view than reading one verse by verse. It's really zooming out and getting a completely different perspective so that when you zoom in, you know what is surrounding what you're reading. The biggest benefit is that perspective shift, but then right after that is that you are really thinking about the Bible more. You are changing how you think and you are meditating on scripture daily because these things come to your mind without even trying because you are soaking up so much. And for that reason, I think it is beneficial to try this plan. It is not how I would read every single month. That would be crazy, but it will help you grow and I think it is worth a try. And this is what it actually looks like. Day 1 is Genesis 1 all the way through 42. So yes, you will be going from creation all the way into just about Joseph. And then day 2, Genesis 43 through Exodus 29. You are going to be going the length of books. You're not just going by a couple chapters. And then later on in the New Testament, it's many books because they're shorter. Like on day 28, you read Romans 9 through Ephesians 6, which is a few books, but you really are not trying to get the most deep theological content when you are doing this plan. You are trying to understand the way with that day, day 28, how Paul spoke to the church and how all the different churches had different problems. And you are going to later go back and you can read all of the stuff that stuck out to you and that you really want to dive deep into. I will say that I really don't know who Nathan Finochio is or how to say his name, and I'm not doing the plan at all because of that guy, but because he just wrote out how you would split it up for 30 days. I mean, it was his idea. I didn't even know it was possible before that. It was sent to me by the leader of the worship team I'm on, and we all went through it, and it was really cool to see how it changed everyone. The way I did this plan was almost entirely through listening to the Bible, and I used just an audio version on YouVersion, the generic Bible app. And I did that because it is a lot easier than reading every day because I don't have enough time to just sit and read however many chapters it has to be a day, 40 to 50. It sounds really daunting that way, but if you just listen to it, it actually is very doable. You do have to change up your normal day. You can't expect to do all the same things like watch TV at night or play video games or listen to music on the commute to work. You kind of have to change that all up just for a month. You can think throughout your day where you could supplement Bible reading to get through the plan, and that's actually very helpful in itself for just thinking about all the time that you do use on things that are less worthwhile than the Holy Scriptures. I often listened whenever I was driving, and of course that's hard if you're driving with other people, so it was only when I was driving alone. But it's also what I put on when I woke up in the morning while I'm getting ready to start the day. It's also what I listen to every day in the gym for a month. I will say I'm not new at listening to audio books. I've done that for the last 10 years of my life, so it's a format I'm very used to and it's easy for me. It may take a while to get used to reading by listening instead of looking at the physical words, but you do get better at it as you do it, and you can actually start slower than the normal speed if you need to, and then slowly speed it up to get to a more doable speed for reading the whole Bible in 30 days. I think the number one reason people would say not to do something like this is because they're thinking you are just skimming the whole Bible, you are not getting any meat or any depth. But what you're doing is you are setting aside a certain time to, and by that I mean the month, you're setting aside a certain amount of time to do something different, and you are going to read a lot more than you usually do. And yes, you're not going to study in depth on every single verse. It's just impossible to do if you're trying to read at this speed, but you are going to read the Bible in a way you've never done before. You are going to see patterns throughout the Old and New Testament that you've never noticed before. You are going to see redemption starting from Genesis and then see it go all the way through its culmination in New Testament. You're going to see the fall of man all the way to the crucifixion and the eventual coming back of Christ. It also makes the New Testament a lot less daunting. There's so many books in there, and when you realize you can listen through one of those books in the span of 15 minutes or less, depending on which one it is, it really makes everything seem more doable for what I'm going to go and do after I finish this shred. As I'm going through, I usually write down or quickly highlight, if I'm not driving, a verse just that I want to go back to after I'm done with the plan. I don't do that the day of. I will now go through all of those that I finish this plan, and I can go an in-depth study and go verse by verse now, or maybe spend a whole day on just the one verse. It is not easy. We started with 6 people, and we actually only, I think 3 of us finished, and I myself actually have a few more verses to read today, and I will be completely done, but I have done it before in the 30-day time slot. My friend and I actually noticed that the days we missed the most and that we had to catch up on were actually Sundays, which is kind of funny, but because we're going to church, because our pattern is broken up from the rest of the week where we just were consistently listening, it actually was the day that we struggled with the most with reading this. And you know, it's okay. You just catch up the next day, or you take 36 days to read it instead of 30. It's all right. You are still consuming more Bible than you probably ever will again or have before. When you read through the Old Testament at this pace, it will bog you down, but it gives you a new perspective on all of the rules and regulations the Israelites were expected to keep and how impossible it really was. And it gives you a whole new perspective on how amazing it is that we are not saved by our works, but by Christ's works. And in the end, the goal is to be in the scripture. Really, it is. It doesn't matter if you read 30 chapters a day, or if you read 1, or if you read 1 verse. And often that is what it comes down to. I read a few verses a day and I study it in depth, and that's great. I probably get more out of that application-wise than I do if I read however many chapters you have to read a day for this. It's between like 30 and 50 for this plan. If you don't finish a day, it's okay to start at the new day instead of finishing and dragging on everything and trying to catch up all the time. If you need to skim a bunch, if you need to just really skip to the next day, that's okay. The goal is to build momentum and to get through the entire plan and see that it is doable. Anytime you are reading more scripture, whether it's 1 verse or 1 chapter or a whole book of the Bible in a day, it's a win. You are becoming more like God, hopefully, if you are applying it to your life, and you are understanding the story of the Bible better and the story of salvation. and you're getting a proper perspective. You're realizing how low we are and how high above us God is, and I think that's a win no matter what. So it doesn't matter how much you're reading, but this is just a fun challenge. It is very challenging, and it is something that could really change your perspectives, and I think it's worth a try.